Now it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight's headlines. We have Prime Minister receives the new ambassador of Great Britain. For the international scene, G7 leaders show unity on pandemic prevention. Welcome to our newsroom. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, received this morning the ambassador of the British Majesty in Djibouti, Miss Jo McPhail. The Prime Minister welcomed the British diplomat to Djibouti. The discussion is focused on ways to deepen the relationship between the Republic of Djibouti and the United Kingdom, including health cooperation in the fight against the pandemic of COVID-19. The Minister of Economy and Finance received in audience the ambassador of the United Kingdom, Ms. Pamela Jones McPhail. At the end of the morning, this first meeting focused on the relations of the cooperation between the two countries, as well as on the means allowing to develop them, but also to reinforce them more to several files. On this occasion, the two parties reviewed the state of bilateral economic and financial relations, as well as the prospect for their development and strengthening, especially in the banking and financial sectors, and this is a spirit of mutual interests. Early this morning, the Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, to the presentation of the check to Tricycle Union. This intervention aims to relieve the actors of the Bajaj hard hit by the adverse effect of the coronavirus pandemic. This official handing over of check to these actors of the informal sector shows that the government fully plays its part and translates its will to guarantee the well-being of all the actors of the informal sector. Indeed, these actions of the government has for mission to assure, maintain, and preserve the dynamism of these sectors in order to save thousands of jobs. This day has gathered in the immediate majority of tricycle drivers, composed of young people, owners of tricycles. For his part, the Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, has in these few words highlighted the primacy of this economic and solidarity plan. It is necessary to take care of urgently, he declared, of the micro, small, and medium enterprises which are very sick. That is to say, to help them, he said, by alleviating first their suffering and giving them more chance to survive. The Minister of Interior, Said Nur Hassan, received this morning in his office strong Ethiopian high-level delegation led by the Ethiopian ambassador to Djibouti, Berhanu Tsgeye, on a working visit to Djibouti. The Minister of Interior, Said Nur Hassan, has welcomed the Ethiopian delegation. Instead, the Minister of Interior then emphasized the special ties that binds our two countries. The Ethiopian delegation thanked the Minister of Interior, Said Nur Hassan, for the welcome he received. Also, as part of her contact with the various departments, the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity visited several social countries, including in the town of Balbala and Bulaus. Upon her arrival, the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity, Ms. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, accompanied by her close collaborators, was given a warm welcome by the officials of the municipality, local elected officials, and representative of law enforcement. Thus, the person in charge of social countries, Mr. Muhammad Awale, took the floor accompanied by the supervisors and coordinator of this same counter. Indeed, the team of Social Affairs Solidarity briefly presented the achievement of the ministry in terms of programs and prospects with the population, receptions and collection of grievances of vulnerable population, the social register, a database of vulnerable populations, and the application used for socio-economic survey to social worker. As part of the week of against child labor, the Ministry of Labor Formalization is in charge of social protection in collaboration with the National Union of Djiboutian Women and the Ministry of Women and Family organized this morning an information and sensitization workshop on the elimination of child labor within the UNFD. This workshop was chaired by the Minister of Labor, Usman Ibrahim Roble, was attended by the Minister of Women and Family, Muna Osman Aden, and the Vice President of UNFD, Hasna Hamad Bilil, and Ms. Fatuma Awal Usman, the Mayor of Djibouti City. The objective is to inform and raise awareness on how to integrate addresses the issue of child labor in humanitarian actionist measures without delay, target the root causes of child labor by developing access to education, social protection, by adopting measures that guarantee livelihoods, and by promoting access to decent works for adults, strengthening collaboration and advocacy through social dialogue to end the recruitment and use of children in armed conflict and other worst forms of child labor. For her part, the Vice President of UNFD, Hasna Hamad Bilil, has indicated that the objective is to inform and raise awareness on how to integrate and address the issue of child labor in humanitarian actions measured without delay. For his part, the Minister of Women and Family, Muna Osman Aden, has indicated for her part that they target the root causes of child labor by developing access to education, social protection, by adopting measures that guarantee livelihood, and by promoting access to decent work for adults. For his part, the Minister of Labor, Isman Ibrahim Roble, has concluded for his part that they strengthen collaboration and advocacy through social dialogue to end the recruitment and use of children in armed conflict and other worse forms of child labor. Within the framework of the new mission is conferred to it by the decree fixing its attribution, the Ministry of Labor, in charges of formalization and social protection under the impulse of His Excellency Isman Ibrahim Roble, has engaged in wide-ranging reflections on social protection through a broad and in-depth consultation with the institutional actors involved in this issue. This workshop should lead us to the general state of social protection scheduled for January 2022, which will be the culminations of this activity. The minister insisted on his willingness to create a synergy of action between the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity and the National Social Security Fund to achieve a common vision is on programs to be implemented. The working groups were formed on the following themes: G1, what social protection system and modalities of adequate, inclusive, and universal extension is reviewed. For his part, the Minister of Labor, Isman Ibrahim Roble, reviewed on the operation of existing social protection system, reflection on approaches to coherence and improvement, reflection is an exchange of a dynamic and setting up a social protection basis. The Minister of Employment insisted on his willingness to create a synergy of action between the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity and the National Social Security Fund, CNSS, to achieve a common vision on the programs to implement. The Minister of Decentralization, Qasem Harun Ali, received this morning on our courtesy visit Fatuma Sheikh, representative of the UNDP. This organization is a partner of the Ministry in charge of decentralization. After the protocol exchanges, the two officials exchanged on the possibility of developing and expanding the partnership around support project to the decentralization process and the strengthening of the local authorities. The minister recalled the government's objectives in terms of decentralization, namely the development of the territorial collectivity in order to allow a harmonious socio-economic development of the whole country. In this regard, the minister proposed to the two teams work together to develop an initiative to support and strengthen the decentralization process. The Minister of Interior Said Nuh Hassan visited the site of the firefighters that ravaged the 14 homes in the large suburb of Pika 12 in the town of Balbala yesterday evening. The minister was accompanied by his colleagues of Solidarity, Ms. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, and the mayor and the prefect of the city of Djibouti. This delegation went to meet the affected population in order to define the priority actions of relief to the victims. The Minister of Interior and the Minister of Solidarity informed the affected family of their full solidarity in these circumstances and assured them to provide the necessary support in a short time. The professional exam were delivered on May 13 and will end on June 17, 2021 after the tests of the CF certificate of vocational training, which saw the participation of 655 candidates, followed by the CAP certificate of vocational aptitude with 483 candidates. Begin today the professional back of the session 2021 with 1,500 candidates. All branches confused. The tests to the industrial and tertiary sectors will be held in 3 examination centers, including the largest LEAC and the Technical High School of Gabon and the Vocational Training Center of Balbala. These exams follows the practical and oral tests that took place from June 5 to 12 in all vocational training centers. In the framework of the continuous securing activity of the National Road 1 corridors by the Road Security Unit and those of the Judicial Group, in the evening of June 8, the gendarmes of the Road Brigade of Yoboki surprised at the level of the locality of Galambo, an Ethiopian truck in the process of being siphoned by the restaurant owners, a small gangsters of this locality. Immediately, these gendarmes proceeded to the arrest of the restaurant owners as well as the seizures of 39 jerry cans of 25 liters of gas oil each before calling their colleagues of Dehel Brigade territorial competent, indeed not wanting to be arrested. The Ethiopian drivers had already left the places before the arrivals of the gendarmes. Thus, the gendarmes of the Dehel Brigade took over and immobilized the trucks at the brigade. An investigation was started. At the end of this investigation, the alleged offense was brought to justice. As for the Ethiopian truckers, a wanted notice was issued against him. On Friday, 11 June 2021, Djibouti Coast Guard teams stationed at the coastal surveillance stations of Korangar intercepted a Yemeni boat off the coast of Gehere, which was engaged in illegal fishing activities in Djiboutian territorial waters. 5 individuals, all of Yemeni origins, were arrested during this operation, as well as a significant quantity of fish of different species. This is a new demonstration of the constant vigilance of the Djiboutian Coast Guard to protect the national fishing resources. The investigation was entrusted to the Research Investigation and Judicial Affairs Brigade, while the boat was seized pending a decision by the court. The team of the Mobile Customs Brigade of Tajura, chaired by Jilani Shahim Burhan, says that a large quantity of cat of 1,300 kilo with the collaborations of the police, the Mobile Customs teams of Tajura, also says that a large quantity of 15 batch of gin hidden in Ethiopian track. The Director General of Customs, Mr. Guled Ahmed Yusuf, and the Prefect of the Tajura region, Hassan Dabale, congratulate all the collaborators of the Tajura region's forces and the customs agents. For the international scene, the G7 leaders showed their unity Saturday on the second day of their summit in Cornwall for the prevention of the pandemic. On Sunday, for the end of the summit, the climate is expanded to be at the centers of discussions. The leaders want to preserve biodiversity, protecting at least 13% of the land and sea by 2013, according to a Downing Street statement. London will also launch a £500 million fund to preserve oceans and marine ecosystems in countries such as Ghana and Indonesia. The leaders also presented a battle plan against future pandemics, an initiative described as historic by London. The plan is to reduce the times to develop vaccines, treatment, and diagnostic with the hope that the world will be reached in less than 100 days to deal with a sudden illness. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.